All right. Um, so I'm gonna make a video on intro to competing here. I feel like I've had a lot of people ask about, a lot of questions regarding competing, and I tried to do my best to make an exhaustive little slideshow on everything and everything you need to know if you have never even signed up for an event before. Um, like the basics, even weight classes, all that kind of stuff. Assuming you know absolutely nothing about competing and Olympic weightlifting and all that stuff. So we're going to go over everything I could think of. And even towards the end, I'll be honest, I feel like I covered everything to where I had no idea what to put for an FAQ. I had like one question I put in there. So at the end, when I send this out to you, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But I tried to really include everything. I'm sure I missed a couple things, but for the most part, I think I got most everything. And this is not a fancy slideshow or anything. I put it together and pretty quick. Um, but we're gonna try to go in order too of like, say you're 6 weeks out or whatever, how to register, how to do all that stuff. And then, what does everything look like from there from registering for the event to leaving the event, sort of thing. So first thing is weight categories. As I said, I'm gonna try to go through this pretty fast, but you know pretty simple. If you're going to go weigh in and whatever, if you're trying to decide what category you should be, just measure yourself or and weigh yourself and round up to the nearest one. So and we want to look at IWF categories. Olympics, they cut out like half of them, so we're not worried about that because in the US here we follow these ones. So, for example, if I am 76 kilos, I would be considered an 81 kilo athlete. If I'm a female and I am 82 kilos, I'm considered an 87 kilo athlete. Pretty simple there. That's what you would enter in for your weight class. And a lot of the times, don't quote me on this. A lot of the times, if you miss weight, so say you declare being a 71 and you go in and you are 71.5, they will just consider you a 76. So, wouldn't worry about that too much, but don't put too much thought into weight. Age categories. Pretty quick here. There are a lot of age categories when you really look into it. Most of us are going to fall into the senior category. And there's also under 23, under 25 when you get to some national categories. But this is really only applies to you if you are really in that junior, youth 13 and under, or that, below under 18, or if you're in that master's category. Senior, pretty simple. You pretty much will just follow this. And then youth body weight categories, those get a little different. They're a lot lower for a lot of other people. So as you can see here for, normal, they're going to go up to 109, 109 plus. For youth, they really only go up to 102, 102 plus, just because, younger kids a lot smaller. Even they go down 89 kilo plus. So you can find all that there if you'd like. But as I said, most people are going to sit in this senior category. But if you fall into that, you're just going to go back to this, and that's the category you'll fall into. But then masters, they always go by whatever category you're in, the lower age range. It's not like where you round up in the weight category. It's so if you're 35 to 40, you are 35. And that's how that works. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's how it works. All right, entries. So when you go to entry, put your entry total in, and you enter for an event. First thing you gotta do, well, entry total. First of all this does, all an entry total does, is decide what session you're in. So it's kind of like if you ever played track or you ran track or you were swimming, it's like a psych sheet, if you know what that is. So that's just going to be an estimate of like who to kind of put you with so that they know, to put you up with people in similar speeds, or in this case, similar weights you're lifting. Because, they don't want to start and open the bar with 35 kilos and end with a bar at 200 kilos or whatever it might be, right? They want to try to put the group of people, which is usually between, it can be like between 8 and up to 20, actually. They want to have that group of people to have all as similar numbers as they can. Some meets you go to might have 2 sessions, one men's session, one women's session. Some you meets you go to can have, local meets at least, can have 4. I don't think I've ever really seen 6. Mostly just probably like 4 sessions, 2 men, 2 women. Sometimes, a lot of times in North Carolina, I've seen more women's sessions. So they'll get rid of a men's session sometimes. Um, but as I said, don't worry about your entry total too much. It's really just where to put you. Because once you get there to the meet, you'll end up putting your weight in once you weigh in at the meet. That's going to be your opener, and we'll talk about that later. Entry snatch plus clean and jerk. So when you do your entry total, my recommendation is usually like take maybe, I would say 90 or 95%, depending on how things have been going for you for your entry total. So say your snatch is 80, clean and jerk is 100, 180. You can put 180, that's totally fine. I recommend sometimes like a little bit lower, like maybe 175, 170 even. That's kind of up to you and what you talk about with your coach, but that's what I kind of recommend, is like lower it a little bit. But also, before you even do that, you got to sign up for USAW membership and create an account. You can just type in USAW bars, sign in or sign up. I think the membership, don't quote me, last time I checked, it was around 65. It might be up to 70 or even $80 a year. Not too terrible, but something very important as well. Make sure, so you're going to go home once you sign up, home, members, click your profile, memberships, individual membership, and you'll find this pop up. Make sure to put in your club info and your coach information. This is just pretty important, especially when you go on, so that you are affiliated with your coach and your team. That's more important, especially down the line, but it's just good to have that on there so that you are registered with your coach. Equipment. All right. So I'd say necessary. I'm pretty sure, yeah, weightlifting shoes are not considered necessary, but it's weird seeing people without them. Necessary singlets, and also share this uh, what's it called, slideshow with people, so you can click these links. But Virus and Fleo are pretty common, popular ones I've seen. I've even seen Nike and Gym Reapers do some, mostly for powerlifting. Virus is the most popular, kind of the most expensive as well, but it is what it is. Weightlifting shoes, I think it's like this is almost like this is more recommended than anything. Nike, Reebok, TYR, like the big ones. Adidas has ones. These are the ones that I really like, at least. During competition, things are not allowed. Straps, headphones, taped near the elbows. Don't worry about it. No one really worries about that too much. Headphones are okay in the back room. You just can't wear them during your lifts and competitions. You can wear straps in the back room. I don't recommend it, but you can wear straps in the back room. You just cannot wear them when you go out to the platform to compete. So here's a couple of examples of things that are allowed. Essentially, with your singlet you wear, you can wear almost anything you want underneath it. Literally anything. So you can wear a full on, you can wear leggings, you can wear a long sleeve shirt, whatever you want. You can wear as little as you want. You can wear just the singlet. You can wear just leggings, shirt underneath. The only thing you cannot do is wear things on top of the singlet. So you can't wear a t-shirt, or you can't wear a shirt on top of the singlet. Knee sleeves are fine because they don't really cover the singlet too much. But aside from that, like, you can really wear whatever you want. The only rule is you cannot wear anything on top of the singlet. It's more of like, once you walk out to the competition stage, you can now no longer wear anything on top. You can wear whatever you want in the back room. It does not matter at all. Taper. So I want to go over this just because I know many people do not know what a taper is. And as I mentioned here, you don't need to know the science about it. It's just a strategic rest. So your coach will talk to you. Some people do 1, 2, 3 week tapers. It kind of depends on the coach and who you are, what works for you. But my recommendation, why I wanted to bring this up, is when you are entering that taper period, which, as I said, could be a week, 2, 3, doesn't matter. Well, it matters, but it depends on what your coach does. Um, your job is now to kind of forfeit some extraneous activity. You want to rest. It's good to do like active recovery, like go for walks if you want to do that, but we don't want to be doing crazy stuff, going heavy and all that stuff. That's just gonna mess up the taper. And I love explaining that. I can explain that another day, but we really want to make sure that we get that strategic rest in. So try to keep the extra physical activity you do outside of your normal training to a minimum if you can. That's just going to help you a lot with your taper. So that's just what I highly recommend. I know a lot of people, I've put them on a taper. They didn't know they were on a taper. I didn't really tell them, didn't do all that well. And they go and max things out. And then I'm like, oh, that throws a wrench into things. But we live and we learn. Pre-comp chat and weigh-in. So maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks out from competition, you're going to chat with your coach about what your opening attempts are. Opening attempts is just you get the 3 attempts at the competition. What do you want to start off with? And now when you have this conversation, it's not a set in stone thing. Your coach can go change those numbers whenever they want. They get 2 chances to change the numbers. It's pretty simple. But it's more of like, hey, what do we feel pretty comfortable with hitting as the first attempt? As I've kind of put here, some people open up very aggressively with 96 to 99%. Not what I like to do and have people do, but some people open up more conservatively with 89, 93. I think like for your first competition, I would recommend anything lower. Like 93 is probably pretty good for most people. I would not recommend for your first competition opening anything above really 95, 96%. That's just a little bit too much. So for example, if your best snatch is, let's say 50 kilos, we would maybe open up with 43 kilos, 42 kilos. We want to be very confident when you're doing these opening attempts that you're gonna make it, because that's the biggest thing for your first meet is you want to make sure you have fun and you want to make sure that you make everything. This is not a do or die situation. It's wait for that when you get to like the higher level meets, but you really want to go with those like lower-ish numbers. And as I said, like if you're feeling great in warm-ups the day of, your coach can go change those numbers and bump them up for you. But as I said, the biggest priority is to start a little lower. And also, meets are not typically the time people, hit those PRs. A lot of the times you get that adrenaline from your first meet, you end up hitting a PR. But a lot of people, I think it helps a lot when you can separate, I'm going to hit PRs in training. I'm going to just try to make all my lifts in competition. Some people hit PRs in competition, especially your first meet. You might hit a PR just from that adrenaline, but I like to think about saving the PRs for training and trying to get close to those PRs during competition because they're kind of a showcase of, your skill and what you can do, not as much your ability to hit those and dive under big numbers. So then you'll talk about the warm-up numbers. So, I do them very specifically with everyone I work with. You might take a couple triples at 50%, take a couple doubles at 60%, a couple doubles at 70%, and you might go singles 80%, 86, or no, probably like 70%, 77%, 84, 83%. 86, 87, then you open up with maybe 91, 92%, depending on what you do. But your coach will tell you about what numbers you will want to, warm up with. And it should be something that you do pretty regularly. So if like, you always take bar, then 40 kilos or 35 kilos, you should try to do that in competition. Don't try to change things up. As people said, day of the competition is not the day to try new things. So keep it simple, keep it, to what and keep it that way. Basic competition rules: 6 total attempts, 3 snatch attempts, 3 clean and jerk attempts. You need 1 attempt from snatch and clean and jerk to post a total. If you do not get any attempts made for either snatch or clean and jerk, you will be classified as a did not finish. So we want to avoid that if we can. So that's why we kind of like to open up very conservatively on the lower end of things. Then we can, step it up with those second and third attempts. But so that we can post a total, we want to make sure we hit those 2. But so the minimum you have to make is 2 attempts out of the 6. You got to make those. In a competition, you may compete with other athletes from different weight categories. This is super common, especially if you're in one of those competitions or meets where there's only 2 sessions, a men's and a women's session. You will compete with almost every weight class a lot of the times. And so it's kind of interesting. But a lot of times, the bigger the meets you go to, the more you're with like that very close knit category of who you should be with. And so you're only scored and compared with other athletes in your category, your weight category, all that stuff. So even though you might be lifting with other people who are in different weight categories, you will only be lifting with those people who are compared to in like, the totals and the medals and all that stuff compared to with other people in your category. Then your total is based off your best snatch and clean and jerk. So, if you make all 6, that's great. They're going to take your best numbers from each. And the last little thing, and I'm probably going to miss some things that I'm just not thinking about, but weights only go up in a competition. They never go down. So once a weight is declared on a bar, the weight will never go back down. So with that being said, essentially the lightest weights openers happen first and then the heaviest weights happen last. So, I would say like, so for example, like a session might open with the snatches for any set, maybe like 70 kilos, let's say. It could potentially end with 100 kilos, but it's never going to go down or up and down. It's only going to go up, but everyone's organized by that order. But it works out pretty well. It's like you almost got to just be there just to see how it goes. Basic competition flow. I think this is probably the most important thing for everybody to kind of see, just to get an idea of what goes on. So let's say, for example, your session starts at 10 a.m. Weigh-in goes in from 8 to 9. Usually, sometimes they even extend it a little bit longer, the full 2 hours. I like to play it safe and just weigh in within that, first hour. That way you can like weigh in, eat, hang out for a little bit, let your food, digest and all that good stuff. So if the session starts at 10 a.m., the first attempt actually won't start until 10:10 because there's usually a 10-minute introduction and break. So they do that so that, they can intro everybody, and then whoever's opening first with those lighter weights has some time to continue to warm up and get ready. After snatches, another 10-minute break. So if it ends at 11:10, clean and jerks will start at 11:20. So there's a 10-minute break before each session starts, and each session, the whole session usually lasts between around 2 hours or so, depending on the size. So like a typical, 10-person session might last, if it goes really fast, like an hour and a half. A 20-person session, I've seen it get done in a little over 2 hours. Sessions are ordered by entry total. So as I said, like if you have a lower entry total, you might be in an earlier session. If you have a really high entry total, you'll be in towards a later session, right? So as I said, it just determines where you are. It literally doesn't mean much. So if you have a lower entry total, you might be lifting earlier in the day. Higher total, you'll be lifting later in the day, sort of thing. Judges. Okay, I like to go over this just because people are so unfamiliar with weightlifting with people in front of them. 3 judges, left, right, and center. And really, at the end of the day, like they're just kind of watching to see what rules you break, if any. Oftentimes, the most common rule they're looking for is just the press outs, which I'll go over in a second. And then if you're kind of waiting and having control before you drop the bar, they don't look for, most local meets, they don't really call for really anything else. But once you have the national meets, they'll kind of look for a lot more things. So you'll have professional judges there. But good lift, 3 white lights. No lift, 3 red lights. However, You can get a good lift by majority decision with 2 white lights. So what that might look like is, say you catch and you have an elbow that bends and rebends. Maybe that left judge might give you a red light, but the other 2 give you a white light. You will have a good lift because you got a good lift by majority decision. Same thing with 2 red lights. If 2 judges give you a red light, you will have a no lift by majority decision. So just be on a watch out for that. So don't get too excited once you make a lift. You always got to like make sure if you felt your elbow move, check those lights before you celebrate. Clocks. So each athlete gets 1 minute to complete their lift. And then after, if they miss their lift and there's nobody in front of them with maybe the same weight, or there's like a lot of different coaching rules that they follow, determine who goes first and in what order. If you're following yourself, you get a 2-minute clock. So oftentimes when you get put on a 2-minute clock, your coach might bump your weight up depending on how that lift looked. Say you like lift and you threw a snatch way over your head. They're probably going to bump you up because they know you can do it. Just to give you extra rest, because a 2-minute clock, not a whole lot, but if they can bump you up maybe a kilo or 2 so that another athlete has to go, then they can buy you, maybe that 2-minute rest goes to maybe 3 or 4 minutes rest, which is going to be very beneficial. So, but your coach will handle all that, so don't you worry about it. And the coach will determine, if that lift looked good enough to go up in weight. But sometimes we might just take the 2-minute clock just because we want to, stay at that weight, try it again. But yeah, doesn't matter too much. Your job during the competition, it's pretty easy. All you got to do is listen and watch your coach and lift. That's about it. Don't think about it too much. I know a lot of people ask me the question, how do I warm up? How do I do all this stuff? Don't you worry. We do all this stuff for you. Just to read through all this stuff, and the coach and the athlete, you and yourself, will work with the coach to determine what the lifts you will take. And when we plan these warm-ups and stuff like that, we're very punctual on the minute. So I might tell you, if your session starts at 10 o'clock, I might know in my head, hey, I'm guessing you're going to take your opening lift at 10:25. I want you to start warming up at 9:45, so I can warm you up properly, get you maybe a 15-minute warm up, get you 25 minutes to get up to those opening numbers, to get you ready, so that by the time you get to that opening number, you've timed yourself very well, or actually we've timed yourself very well, to where once you go for the opener, you have had like 3 minutes rest and you're good to go. We don't have the luxury of just kind of lifting whenever we want, how we do in training. So we have to kind of go based off of everyone else, but that's all the coach's job, and they'll handle all that stuff for you. But as I put in here, your job is to sit back, relax, be excited, have fun, and lift. That's it. The last thing the coach wants you to do is stress out over anything of their job. So just let the coach handle everything. Just lift when you're told to, and we'll even probably most of the time load your bar for you. You'll just lift, sit down, wait, and we'll point at you or something like that. But I really recommend keeping your eye on your coach or whoever's loading your bar, because they'll kind of tell you, and we'll all communicate on when you need to be taking those lifts so that we can keep you on time. You'll often have to also share a bar with somebody. So, we'll handle that as well, of coordinating with the other coaches. Hey, when are we taking these lifts, sharing that bar, all that good stuff. I hope you're following along so far. I'm having fun. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I'm having fun. We're almost done. Got a few more things. Come prepared and bring some snacks and drinks. Easy peasy. Obviously, I wouldn't want you to worry about cutting too much, but if you did end up cutting, electrolytes, water, snacks for after your weigh-in, but then you need some after snatches, because it's weird how like just 3 attempts, and I think it's like the adrenaline too that really wears you out. So bring some food and some snacks. Some people like to bring candy. Some people like to bring, crackers or whatever it is, Gatorade, water, all that good stuff. So make sure you have something ready to go. Doesn't have to be a whole lot, but I'd recommend something. competition rules, common rules. Now, I would say out of all of these first three are the biggest ones that they will look for in a local meet. All of these stuff are more for maybe the national meets. Um, uh, because usually they're just going to pull some judges at a local meet that, kind of know what they're doing. They kind of know what to look for. But it's also very easy just to get away with press outs and even some of this stuff at local meets because it's a local meet. No one really cares. We just want to have fun. But I want to go over at least these three. You can also check out these, but I'm not going to go over them really too much. Control the bar. After the lift is completed, you got to stand with your feet aligned, not staggered. So you can't have your feet here. They got to be here. They don't have to be close together. They can be wide apart, but they got to be in alignment. And they will not give you a down signal. They shouldn't, at least, until your feet are aligned and you have control of the bar. So you really got to wait overhead until you hear a down signal or something like that, right? Um, oh, I guess I covered that one too. Sometimes they'll give it to you verbally or visually or both. They'll have their hand up like this, and when you have control of the bar, they'll wait a second, they'll say down, and they'll put their hand down. That's when you can drop the bar. Press out. I'm sure most people know about this one, but it's any bending or rebending of the elbows. So if you catch right there like that, and you go like that after you catch it, or if you catch it this way and you do this, they will count that as a no lift. Local meets, they will go easier on that. Like if it's very subtle, like if you here, there, they probably won't call you a lot of the times. But just be aware of those few rules. One thing I wanted to bring up as well that I wanted to cover is I didn't put it in here, but don't feel like you have to save the bar at all costs. Um, Safety is obviously a priority. So if you feel like you catch a bar and it's not there, don't sacrifice yourself to go save it. Just dump it. Um, I would rather you just dump it and even bomb out, which is missing all three lifts, than try to save it and hurting yourself. So be quicker, especially it's a local meet. It's not like a big deal. And especially if you're going to a local meet and you're not as experienced, don't, don't injure yourself trying to, total or hit a big number at a local meet. So like if you feel like you're about to dance around and you just don't have a stable, just bail it out and get out of there. Not a big deal because like people will be like, oh yeah, you just, kind of lost control of it. Not a big deal. Go back and get it again or, hit it another time. Not a big deal, but be careful. Just make sure, just kind of like have that. I'd rather you dump it early than really try to go out of your way to save it and, hurt something in the process. So the last little thing is FAQ. I really like kind of covered a lot and I was like, I have no idea what to ask at this point. Should I cut or gain for my comp to be in a certain weight class? I would say just no, don't worry about it. It is a local meet. Our goal is just to go in, have fun, and that's it. We don't want to worry about cutting and all that stuff. Now, if you're like half a kilo away from a weight class and you got 3 months, sure, go ahead. Not a big deal. But I wouldn't want anyone to cut more than a few kilos to drop into a weight class just to win at a local meet. Because also you don't even know who's going to be there, if they're better than you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like there's a very good chance if you're competing as an 81 kilo lifter, or let's say like you're 85 kilos as a male, and you'd be considered an 89, and you're like, oh, I want to go down to 81. there's a very good chance the strongest lifter of the meet could be that 81 kilo lifter in your weight class that you cut down to. So it's really just not worth it anyways. Like you never know what weight class is going to have the best lifter of the meet. That's one thing I love about this sport is like the best lifter of the meet could be one of the smallest people there. It could be a medium-sized person. It could be the heaviest person there. It could be anybody. It could be a master's athlete. It could be a youth athlete. It doesn't matter. So we're not worried about cutting or anything like that. We just want to go have fun. But that is about it for this. Let me know if you have questions or anything like that. Um, yeah, and that's about it. All right. Bye bye.